Hey, this is Dr. Josh Matthews. Today we're going to look at 2 minutes from the great 1980s movie, The Breakfast Club. And we're going to see how the director John Hughes creates 5 major characters in just 2 minutes. It's something that all movies with an ensemble cast have to do, create characters very quickly. And so we're going to analyze this shot by shot, element by element. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I'll be your guide down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So let's get going. Alright, I'm in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to take a look at The Breakfast Club, the opening sequence where the first 5 characters are introduced. Here are 3 of the characters. There's 2 other characters. They're all in high school, in detention on Saturday, circa 1985. These are 5 different characters, different character types. They all represent different types of people in American high schools. They're from different social classes. They have different kinds of parents, ambitions, and dreams. In this movie, they're going to come together and be unified and have a giant therapy session over the course of a Saturday in detention. We're going to start here with the hood of a BMW, which is a status symbol, a car that is upper class. This is going to introduce us to our first character, the princess, played by Molly Ringwald. And here she is with her dad in the upper part of the frame. She's on the left, he's on the right. Now this is going to be important because the remainder of this sequence in 2 minutes, you're going to see the parents on the right side, and then each of the students crammed into the left side, even the far left side of the frame. We'll make sense of why that is in just a minute. But first we start out with the highest person in terms of the hierarchy, the status hierarchy in this movie, which is the princess character, and she's obviously, because of this car, very wealthy. And we'll see in this 2-minute stretch, the clothing, the few words that they say, and the cars that they drive all tell us what the social class of each character is very quickly using types and stereotypes. I'm going to pause the video every few seconds when I want to say something. First, let's look at this and analyze it just a tiny little bit. You've got the main character here, one of them, on the far left side. In movie textbooks, some movie critics, they might tell you that the left side of the frame is slightly weaker than the right side of the frame. It actually depends on the movie that you watch, but I find that John Hughes is a classical movie maker. He's adhering to techniques, formal techniques in film grammar from the 1930s, 1940s. Putting the characters on the left-hand side in a dominant position actually makes you feel a little bit uneasy about them. Maybe some people don't, but culturally speaking, it's a funny thing that in movies, left-hand sides in classical movies, particularly from, say, the 1940s, Hollywood movies, tends to be slightly weaker than the right side of the frame. So here you've got the parent on the right and the high school student on the left who's going to detention early in the morning on Saturday. Now, it's hard to pick up on here, but the clothing gives a lot away. His clothing especially tells us, along with the card, that they're wealthy or rich in comparison to the other characters we'll see. One interesting thing about this composition is that he, the parent, is associated with this right-hand side, which is freedom, greenery, park-like atmosphere, the trees, the grass, the sidewalks, the woods. You'll see the parents get the side that is the free side of the frame, nature, greenery, whereas these high school characters get the side of the school, which actually looks like a kind of Nazi bunker. In fact, I think the school that we'll see in just a second is part of the brutalist, it's certainly a modernist sort of architecture, but the brutalist form of architecture. And because this movie quotes prison camp movies all the time, this high school detention in The Breakfast Club is kind of like a prison camp. These high school characters on the left-hand side are caught, trapped, forced into something they don't want to do, and even this frame right here is telling you that.
Can't believe you can't get me out of this. It's so absurd I have to be here on a Saturday.
She's talking about how she doesn't deserve to be here. She doesn't ever associate with misfits, weirdos, lower class characters, so that's one of her problems. Oh, and her dad is going to hand her a gift bag and say, well, it's okay to skip school if you're going to go shopping, which is why she's in detention.
It's not like I'm a detective or anything.
I'll make it up to you. Honey, ditching class.
Here we see her associated with the school on the left side, looking upset, of course. Throughout this movie, we get exterior shots of the school, and it does look mean and nasty. You don't want to go into it.
Has to go shopping doesn't make you a defective. Have a good day.
She doesn't like him. He's doting on her. This is one of the relationships between parents and children that aren't going to work out, or that don't work out in this movie. In fact, every single one of these high school students has a problem with their parents, a certain kind of problem. Her problem is her dad dotes on her too much and just hands her money. For the rest of the characters, we'll see the parents are harsh or hard on them. And there you get an exterior of the school. And now we get a second character, and he is going to be bunched really tightly on the left-hand side, crammed over there against the window and forced onto, look at his face. His face is laid out on top of the brutal concrete school steps, and he's got two people cramming him, forcing him into detention.
First time or the last time we do this?
Last.
Well, get in there and use the time to your advantage.
Mom, we're not supposed to study. We just have to sit there and do nothing.
Well, mister, you figure out a way to study. Well, go!
So this character is the geek or the nerd, and later in the movie we find out he's here at detention for actually pretty terrible reasons. His mother's harsh on him. She demands that he studies well, and he shouldn't be here as a misfit on Saturday in detention. Notice the license plate here equals MC squared. We know that he's a nerd. He's going to be the sciencey-like character. So all the associations are here. That this character is a geeky nerd, high IQ, and his parents are forcing him to get great grades. Their car, notice, is not that great. It's sort of a plain old Chrysler sedan. I'm sure in the 1980s this is a nice car, but it's nothing compared to the BMW we just saw. So we're going to go down in terms of the social status, the economic status of these characters, and the next one we're going to see is in this truck back here, as you can see in the frame. Notice the character is always going to the left into this brutal school.
Hey, I screwed around.
Here's another character. I think you're going to notice that he's an athlete based on his clothing. Once again, we have the parent on the right-hand side associated with nature, park-like atmosphere, and on the left-hand side here out of focus is our high school student, again, crammed over there, forced to go to school on Saturday.
Guys screw around. There's nothing wrong with that.
There he is, associated with a school over here. Notice his letter jacket. This is what high school students wear in the United States, and specifically athletes.
Except you got caught, sport.
Yeah, Mom already rang me, all right?
You want to miss a match? You want to blow your ride? I know school is going to give a scholarship to a discipline case.
We have another parent who's harsh on his child. Now, this shot right here, I absolutely love. I need to take a little bit of a break, though, a pause, and give you some idea of the social status of these characters before I dig into this shot. At this point in the sequence, we've seen three characters introduced, the top three on the left-hand side. I believe the opening shows us a socio-economic hierarchy that proceeds from the princess figure that we've seen, the red-headed woman, to the nerd figure, to the athlete, and now in this very shot, we're going to see the athlete and the misfits unified together in one single shot where the athlete walks out of the truck and then the two misfits show up at different times. This is important because over the course of the movie, the two female characters have to learn to get along and become friends. The three male characters have to get along and become friends. As well, the male misfit and the princess have to get along and they become lovers. The athlete and the female misfit get along and become lovers. And you'll see in this shot some unity between the two male characters played by Emilio Estevez, the athlete, and the male misfit played by Judd Nelson, as well as the lover pair that develops by the end of the movie, the athlete and the female misfit. Well, they unified in the shot I'm going to show you. The movie works very hard to take this hierarchy, destroy it, and make all of these characters equals by the end of the movie, friends, lovers, and good classmates, and perhaps good citizens. Alright, so now let's take a look at this shot where the Emilio Estevez character, the athlete, is going to open this door of the truck, get out, and right over here, you're barely seeing him, is another character. Now take a look at this. The Emilio Estevez character is walking into school right as the Judd Nelson character, the misfit, is walking into the frame. These two are males. They're kind of sort of alpha males in this detention setting, and they're going to vie for the top male spot throughout a lot of this movie. What's going to happen as this movie proceeds is these two males are going to have to become friends. Right now they're enemies or they're indifferent to each other, and the movie's going to have to sort out the fact that they need to become equals. They need to establish that the turf and the library, the detention center, is both theirs, and that they're both equally valid human characters. Right here in the shot, you get a little tiny hint. These two are going to come together, I think because they're placed right almost next to each other as this shot goes along. Watch this. Right there, you see one pass across the other. Now, it might be a sign of dominance that the Emilio Estevez athlete character is much larger now than the Judd Nelson character. I also think it's implying a unity between them because they're both in this same shot. We're going to see the truck drive off. And this is one of my favorite character introductions ever. The Judd Nelson character has a great ending. The last shot of this movie is famous for a lot of reasons. But the opening, the first shot that he appears in, is also equally, I think it's great. Watch this. I'm going to go back. This is just a wonderful sequence. What does this imply about our character here of the misfit? First of all, he has no parents. The teenager-parent relationship is non-existent for this misfit character right here. Second, he's wearing some kind of long trench coat with his hands inside. He looks a little sketchy, a little suspicious, doesn't he? It's different from the clothing of the other characters who are wearing more normal high school garb. Third, he's wearing sunglasses during a cloudy day. That adds an aura of mystery. Fourth, he's walking here instead of being driven here. Maybe his family doesn't own a car even. He might be the lowest character in terms of social class so far. Last, he's tough or he doesn't care. Watch this. Oops. You're going to notice the actor Judd Nelson takes a little bit of a sidestep here, but doesn't flinch as this car comes up and hits the brakes really hard. I love this because is he nonchalant? Maybe he doesn't care about his life. Maybe he's so oblivious to things around him he doesn't pay attention. There's all kinds of wonderful ambiguous character suggestions here that show up, and this particular shot fleshes out all the ambiguities, or many of them, of this character. It's so wonderful. I love this to death. Here comes the car. And as the Judd Nelson character is walking out of the frame on the right, we're going to get the fifth high schooler coming out of the car here. And we also notice the parent-child relationship between her and presumably her parents, maybe somebody else, mysterious people in the window, two of them. We're not sure who. We'd have to guess. Here she gets out of the car, looks at them, goes up to the window, and maybe she's trying to say goodbye. Maybe it's a longing look, but look, they drive away. So unlike the first three characters in this scene, where they had a little bit of a dialogue with their parents, she has no dialogue. Perhaps it means no relationship with her parents. And look at this. Wonderful ending of the shot, which began with the Emilio Estevez character getting out of the truck, the Judd Nelson character walking across the parking lot, and now here, this shot, so beautiful because it shows us the isolation, the emptiness, the longing, the alienation of this character. She's standing here all by herself, left all alone by her parents, her grandparents, maybe not even family members, maybe just friends. Now hang on with me for one more minute because I want to show you the interior of the high school as they go sit down in the library or detention center. Let's watch the next 1 minute of this movie. Here's the interior. And we'll start to see the characters sort themselves out as they sit somewhere in this detention area in the library. The continuation of the misfit character who walked across the parking lot. Here's the other side of the interior. And that art object on the right, that sculpture, is very important to this movie. It dominates many aspects or elements of this movie. A little bit of an alpha male move there. Kick the geek or the nerd over to this other table. And here's the misfit walking into the library. And we see how they sort themselves out. She even walks behind that sculpture as they all turn around and look at her. Who is she? Maybe they think she's weird, who knows, but she's going to sit by herself. Once again, the theme of isolation, alienation of this character shows up. Watch this. Now these two are associated here in that shot. These two are associated in this shot. Haha, they say to themselves, he's feeling a little weird. Here comes the vice principal.
Well, well.
This is a low-angle shot looking up at him. He looks dominant, he looks powerful, and he's going to lord it over them. He's basically the warden of the prison camp that is this high school.
Oh, here we are.
And here's the final shot I want to show you. Here's the hierarchy at the beginning of the movie as we see all the characters sorted out. You've got sort of the more powerful, more high status characters over here. The Judd Nelson misfit character sort of invading that space and not paying any attention. The geek or the nerd is paying attention over here, and then the misfit. Look at her posture, total isolation and loneliness here. Now, one thing I find interesting about this shot is even though the principal is the highest, now if you look at the horizontal line here, he's the highest, tallest character in the frame. I feel like the dominant of the frame, the thing I look at first, is right there. I could be wrong about that. There might be other ways to look at this frame. But these two males, especially the misfit character who's going to initiate the action in this movie, gets to be the dominant character as opposed to this vice principal over here. Wonderful opening shot. Anyway, the 5 characters and even the vice principal over on the left to some extent has been created, and now we're ready to watch this movie and see how these 5 characters sort themselves out over the course of this very memorable and still famous movie. Thanks for watching this analysis. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give me any comment you want. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.